Okay, so yeah, got your back. Please be watchful. Question 11, right? Yeah, what is gross investment?
It's net investment plus the depreciation.
Net investment,
Yeah, plus the depreciation.
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 What is net investment?
What is net investment? It's the gross investment minus the depreciation of the asset value.
Gross investment,
Is the net investment plus the depreciation, and net investment is the gross plus the depreciation. It's gross.
gross investment is what?
Net investment plus depreciation.
Net investment plus depreciation
Mm-hmm.
is gross investment.
Yeah,
Gross investment is investment without depreciation.
gross.
Yeah. And net investment is gross investment plus depreciation. Gross investment. Yes, gross investment is without depreciation. Net investment is with depreciation. Yeah. Your gross investment. Your gross investment is without depreciation. Your net investment is with depreciation. The value of your investment is still gross until it starts being used.
Yeah, it's like gross investment is the total expenditure on new capital goods without accounting the value lost due to appreciation, due to depreciation.
Is that the same thing you said? No.
Yes,
I said now that gross investment is without depreciation. You said no.
without taking into account
Yes, without
depreciation.
depreciation.
Yeah, so you take,
For net, you have put depreciation into accounting.
yeah.
You have accounted for depreciation
Yeah,
because investment.
you subtract it.
Yes,
Yeah, and when you add it, it's whether it's net investment plus depreciation.
gross investment is just the value of investment without putting into account depreciation. That is gross investment. And when it comes to net investment, you have valued the assets, you are taking away the depreciation.
So how do you calculate gross investment?
Gross investment is, you said, this is it. You said net investment is what? Net investment
Is gross investment minus depreciation.
depreciation, right?
Yeah,
Now you want, this is net investment, right?
yeah,
So you are saying gross investment is net investment
plus.
depreciation. You are collecting like terms. Good. But my own point is, do not do the calculation. Whenever you invested, whatever you invest on, is still gross investment.
Until you calculate the depreciation.
So we use depreciation because it is net. Do you get my point here? When you use the calculation, like, oh, net investment is gross investment with depreciation, gross investment minus your depreciation, the value of that asset minus the loss in the value of that asset. That's what it means. So that gives your net investment. So now you are saying gross investment is gross investment.
No, gross investment is net investment
Plus depreciation. But yes, it could be based on the calculation we have here. But you can literally say gross investment is the value of the investment. Because when you buy an asset, when you purchase an asset, you already know that the asset will wear and tear. That's why it is plus. Except for land, every other asset will depreciate. So it means you are buying an asset with the value it will lose over time. Do you get the point I'm making here?
Yes.
I'm not saying your calculation is wrong, but
there's a better way of saying it.
take the calculation out of it. So if they ask you about gross investment and you've forgotten the calculation about net investment, what will you do? So just put in your mind that gross investment means investment without putting into consideration
The depreciation.
the loss in value of assets over time or through usage. Okay, so gross investment is net investment plus depreciation. With reference to the extract, gross investment in Tanzania increased from 15.5 to 25.6. Okay, so that's, so say, net investment equals gross investment minus depreciation. So the gross investment fall, right? Increases from 2015, that's around 11.1 or no, 10.1. How much is that? That increase? 25.6 minus 15.5.
No.
Is it 10.1? No. Yes, 10.1. That's 10.1. 10.1 billion. $10.1 billion. Okay. So that's question 11. We'll go to question 12. Are you here?
I went through.
So extract A. We go to extract A. Low productivity. So in 2021, okay, the case study is there. The UK government argued that the disruption in UK supply chains was mainly as a result of low wages, inadequate skills, and low productivity. The government stated that reductions in welfare benefits and in the number of low-skilled immigrants were needed to increase the country's productivity. They said reduction in welfare benefits. Why will reduction in welfare benefits increase productivity? Please tell me.
Can you repeat the question, please?
They said in the UK, the government argued that the disruption in the UK supply chains was mainly as a result of low wages, inadequate skills, and low productivity. That's what is being said. Now, the question is, okay, now they said the government stated sorry, please. So they said the government stated that reductions in welfare benefits and in the number of low-skilled immigrants are needed to increase the country productivity. That's what is being said. So there's low productivity in the UK, there's inadequate skills and low wages, which has bring about disruption in the UK supply chain. When we talk about supply chain, what does that mean? Supply chain, what does it mean?
Supply chain is the whole system involved in producing and delivering a product.
Thank you. I like that. The whole system involving production to delivery. Okay, that's the supply chain. Great. Now, they said there's disruption in the supply chain because of low wages, inadequate skills, and low productivity. These are three problems here. The government stated that the reduction in welfare payments and the number of low-skilled immigrants were needed to increase the country's productivity. So why will reduction in welfare benefits increase productivity?
Why would welfare payments? Because it disincentivizes disincentivizes people that are, because like reducing welfare benefits can like increase productivity by encouraging more people to work. which
So
helps fill jobs, reduce labor shortages, and like make the economy more efficient.
reduced welfare benefit means people would,
People that are unemployed get less payment.
it means unemployed people that literally stay, are, that feel the welfare benefit is sufficient for them, will now figure out that it's not enough anymore. Then
Mhm.
that would encourage them
To fill
to
start
work.
working. Yeah.
Okay, that's one. What about those workers that are underemployed? Workers that could still do more, but they choose not to do because they have welfare benefits. Won't they think about working more hours now? It's about productivity.
Mhm.
Reduction in productivity might be as a result of less hour being worked.
Mhm.
So underemployed people, unemployed people would really want to work now because welfare benefit is falling. Is that what you're saying here,
Yeah.
please? Okay, great. Now, and the other one, they said, and in the number of low-skilled immigrants, we're there to increase the country's. So reduction in the number of low-skilled immigrants are needed too. So what does that simply means?
That simply means that there's labor shortages in area
There's labor shortage in what?
in big in jobs, low skilled jobs.
It said the government said that reductions in welfare benefit and reduction in the number of low-skilled immigrants were needed to increase the country's productivity. The government of UK wants to reduce the number of low-skilled immigrants.
Yeah,
Why?
because it encourages firms and domestic workers to focus on skills, efficiency, and technology.
When you have low-skilled workers, what does it bring to the table?
Reduced productivity.
Okay. So for productivity to increase, you need adequate skills. You need high wages.
Reduce welfare payments.
For productivity to increase, you need high wages, you need adequate skills,
Investment in education and training.
investment in education and training. Okay. That brings about adequate skills.
Mhm.
Okay. So why do they talk about immigrants, not the citizens?
Because when immigrants come, they are more likely to be economic immigrants. So they're coming to the country to work.
And it is expected of them to be what?
Low skill, productive.
Yes, it is expected of them to be skilled. So why would we allow immigrants to come fill up with low skill, to come in and are low, are not level above what is expected? It means they are not helping the situation. Okay. So that's about productivity. So productivity is output divided by what?
Output,
Productivity is output divided by what?
output divided by GDP.
Productivity. I already gave you what productive. I said output divided by what?
Is productivity. Output divided by it's output divided by input.
Inputs. That's it. Okay, move on. Okay, now they said the difference between, okay, they said define the term net migration. What is net migration?
Difference between the number
Of people entering a country and the number of people
leaving
leaving
it.
it. So what is migration?
Migration is
Migration, yes.
isn't it like the difference between migration, immigration?
No. Migration is the number of people who comes in and go out of the country. That's migration. Question B. It said, with reference to figure 2 and extract A, analyze two possible impacts of net migration on the UK economy. Two possible impacts on net migration result in, okay, creates labor market flexibility as workers will take jobs where shortages exist. Okay. Increase in tax revenue as more people will be part of the labor force. Okay. Increase in tax revenue.
Yeah,
What's tax revenue?
for government tax revenue,
You said more people will be part of the labor force.
income tax.
Income tax.
Yeah,
You said increase in tax revenue. There are different tax
I said
revenue.
decrease. There's a decrease or increase.
You said increase. I'm not saying you didn't say
Ah.
increase. You said tax revenue. There is value added tax, which is part of tax revenue. There's corporation tax. There's capital gain tax. There are different types of tax. But in as much as you've mentioned labor force here, finish
Yeah.
it up by saying income tax.
So it can also be part of corporate tax, right?
Labor force. You said labor force. You didn't talk about
Yeah,
firm.
okay.
You didn't talk about supply. You said labor force.
Okay.
Labor is expected to get wages, not profit. There's labor, wages. There's entrepreneur, profit. So if you are talking about labor, you talk about income tax.
Okay.
Increase in frictional unemployment as net migration can result in displacement of existing workers, displacement of exit. What's this, please?
What is it?
Displacement. The increase in frictional
Of existing workers. I wrote exist.
leads to workers moving between jobs to search for new employment. Why? Because migration. Why? Why would that happen?
Why would
I said, analyze two possible impacts of net migration. Okay, there's increase in net migration here. Then as a result, increase in frictional unemployment. As net migration can result in displacement of existing workers. Why? It leads to workers moving between jobs to search for new employment. Why would they be displaced? Why will existing workers be displaced?
because if labor supply rises faster than demand, some existing workers may lose jobs.
Why?
Why? Because more people looking, there's like people may hire new immigrants sometimes at lower wages, Mr.
Lower wages.
Because migrants may accept lower pay or temporary contracts.
But you didn't see the brighter side, whereby the immigrants would have skills better than
It
existing
encourages
workers.
encourages skill training for domestic workers, for immigrant workers, and moves them into higher productivity roles.
We have talked about fictional here. To me, I would see it as a brighter side because firms would really want to employ workers that have superior skills than their existing ones.
I say this friction on unemployment would encourage skill training for domestic workers because it moves them into higher productivity roles.
I'm with you.
And it also does it controls net migration numbers because it avoids sudden oversupply in certain labor markets.
Okay. Go to question C. With reference to figure 1, explain the term productivity. Productivity is output per unit of input employed. I just asked about productivity now. With reference to figure 1, between 2010 and 2020, productivity in the US increased by around 10%. And what brings about that increase in productivity?
What brings about the
What could bring about an increase in productivity? What are the factors that might bring about increase in productivity?
first, like human capital improvements, Technological improvements.
What is human capital?
It's education.
What is human capital? I'm not saying give me an example of human capital. What is human capital?
What is human capital? It's how do we call it? It's
The value.
let me say it. It's like it's the skills, knowledge, experience, and like abilities of workers that make them more productive.
Okay, great. The value you can add to your employer, to your workplace is human capital. And how do you get human capital? How is human capital get to improve?
By education and training.
Training, okay, great. So go to question D. So that's question C is done. Productivity is output divided by input. D. Explain two likely macroeconomic effects of significant wage increases. Effect of significant wage increases can lead to the following: increase in cost to push inflation, as workers demand high wages because their real income eroded by inflation, indexation. Firms can pass this on as a higher cost to consumers in form of higher prices. Wage increase. But there's a wage increase already here. The impact now, they said effects of significant wage increase. Okay. Deterioration in the balance of trade because higher wages can cause costs to rise, resulting in higher export prices. Deterioration in the balance of trade. Wage increases. If wage increases, purchasing power increases. Yeah, if purchasing power increases, it means people will do more of imports. People will do more of imports. People will do more of imports. But it said here, higher wages can cause costs to rise, resulting in higher export prices.
When there's higher exports, what does it mean?
Higher export prices.
It means imports become more attractive.
No. We're talking about deterioration in the balance of trade here. We are okay. Let's just say that exporting firms now, when you write this, because you said deterioration in the balance of trade because higher wages can cause costs to rise, resulting in higher export prices. No. You tell me about exporting firms. If you are talking about exporting firms, because exporting firms paying higher wages means they might have to push the cost on the price of what they export. And that might result into higher cost, higher price of exports. And if the price of export increases, the demand for export reduces. And that might deteriorate the balance of trade. That's one situation. And the second situation about deterioration of the balance of trade is because as soon as wage increases, the purchasing power of households or employees increases. And that might mean that they will start spending more on importation. And spending more on importation could bring about deterioration in the balance of trade too. But here, you said deterioration of balance of trade because of higher wages can cause costs to rise, resulting in higher export prices. What brings about higher export prices? Export prices are not just going to increase immediately. Something would have happened. So here,
which is,
I just said it now that when you talk about higher prices of exports, it would have meant that the wage increase has have a negative impact on exporting firms. Take it. It's about exporting firms. You didn't talk about exporting firms here. So this is just a sort of camouflage answer on deterioration of balance of trade. You should have told me about exporting firms, then I would think about this. Or you talk about wage increase, which brings about high increase in purchasing power of households, which means they can now spend on importation. And that would as well reduce the balance of trade. So rising wages can incentivize firms to invest on.
Hello.
Yes, hi sir.
How are you?
Fine.
Huh?
Fine.
Are you recording us?
Yeah, sure, but I closed the camera already.
So how's things?
Good.
This is unit 1 or 2?
No, 2.
2, huh?
Yeah, it's in it 2. 2. I'm just questioning his answers.
Okay.
Yes, I said.
How are you recording us?
Yes, sir.
So how's things? This is unit 1 or 2? 2, huh? Yeah, it's in it 2. 2, huh?
I'm just questioning his answers. because I have to.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But he's doing
Yeah,
by
well,
himself.
yes, sir, sure.
So it's not like,
He's doing well
we're
then.
not cheating.
Yeah,
It's how we are monitoring him.
he's trying, sir.
Is it good?
Yeah, he's really trying, sir.
Hmm?
Yeah. But I'm giving him some questions outside even the book.
Yes, yes, this is the best way.
So
You should do question everything is writing, right?
sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so yes, that's about deterioration. Deterioration could talk about exports, but at the same time talk about imports. So that's why here, instead of giving you 2 marks, I'm going to give you 1 mark. Then he said, rising wages can incentivize firms to invest in labor-saving
Machinery.
machinery and staff training. Okay. Labor-saving machines. Labor-saving machines.
Like robots.
Oh, okay. And staff training. So if they do that, what will that mean?
It means that, like in what way?
You said rising wages can incentivize firms to invest in labor-saving machinery. Yes, they replace workers with machines, right?
Yeah.
Good. That is capital intensive. And staff training. Why would there be staff training?
To reduce, so everyone can make as much productivity as possible to avoid employing more people.
Put it this way. If wages has increased, firms would want workers to justify that wage increase. So to do that, they might encourage them. They might have to train them so that they can work based on their best capacity. That is what it means. The magnitude of the wage increase is relatively large, as the wage increases have been significant, so impact is likely to be considerable. So here, 2, 4, 6, 7.
6, 7.
So go to question E, right? They said discuss the supply side policies that the UK government could use to increase productivity. What is supply side policy? Supply side policies are designed to increase productivity, competition, and incentives in an economy, okay? Increase in government spending, that's subsidy. Increase in government spending on skills through investment in education and training. This would increase human capital and raise productivity. So if there's increase in investment on spending and education or training, that would increase productivity and human capital, okay? It will increase human capital, and improvement in human capital would increase productivity. Reducing the level of welfare benefits. If government reduces welfare benefits, this would incentivize unemployed people to take jobs, work harder, and increase output per worker in the UK, okay? However, government will have to spend significant amount of money to increase productivity. This creates costs for the UK government. It may lead to more productivity if spent in another sector of the economy, example, healthcare. Why the choice of healthcare?
Oh, I just said it because it's either healthcare or education.
Cutting welfare benefit design as an incentive to work may be ineffective if the unemployed are willing to receive less payment and do not work. Reducing bureaucracy may create unemployment in the short term. I don't want to work. Wait up. If the unemployed are willing to receive less payment and do not want to work. Okay. Okay. What about if the reduction in welfare benefits is still greater than the average wage they would earn?
They would still not want to work.
Okay. So that takes us to question 14,
I
right?
think 14, yeah, I did 14.
Excuse me, please. That was got to be. Okay. So question 13.
14.
Okay, 14. Okay, we'll see. In 2021, the rate of economic growth in Maldives was 18.87, and in India it was 12.55%. Evaluate the potential conflict between the objective of economic growth and two other macroeconomic objectives. Refer to a country of your choice in your answers. Economic growth is a measure of how much output has increased by over a 12-month period, over a year growth. Potential conflicts may include: 1, inflation rises as full capacity is approached. Bottlenecks may arise where some restrictions in the supply chain can cause cost and wage pressures. So there's inflation with regards to economic growth, right? Growth should contribute in higher average living standards, but may not deliver a more fair or equitable distribution of income and wealth. Why? As the rich tends to get richer faster than the poor do. Why?
Because they have more resources.
Okay. Increased growth tends to lead to a higher external cost, deterioration of the environment, and pollution. However, if it is supply-side economic growth, then there will be fewer conflicts with other objectives. It also depends on the extent of effectiveness of environmental policies. Example given, many developed economies may have strict environmental laws encouraging the use of technology. Okay, I was expecting that. Balance of payment position may improve if it is export-led growth, e.g. through investment. It also depends on the initial state of inflation in the economy. So here, you talked about, let's say something. You talked about the use of technology. You talked about whenever there's economic growth, it could bring about inflation. It could lead to improvement in the living standards. Okay. Increased growth tends to lead to higher external cost. Okay, supply side economic growth. Then there will be fewer conflicts with other objectives. Like what? It also depends on the extent of effectiveness of the environmental policies. When developed economies may have strict environmental laws encouraging the use of technology. Okay, I think you mentioned everything you're supposed to here. You made 9 points here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That should contribute to higher average living standards, but may not deliver a more fair, equitable distribution of income and wealth. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You mentioned 8 points here. You should have mentioned more. That's 16.
No.
Yeah, what should I do? There are other things you could mention about macroeconomic.
You
It's
think-
macroeconomic.
I think it deserves 20.
No, you mentioned 8 points here. I told you it's a 20 marker. You expect to give me 10 points, not 8. There's still more to talk about. It's economic growth. There's conflicts. You talked about inflation. You talked about standard of living. And
Mr. earlier said you mentioned everything you're supposed to mention.
what about GDP per capita? Did you talk about GDP per capita? Why economic growth, which is GDP, cannot be the only reason why we can as well talk about. Yeah, you mentioned the standard of living. The economic growth might contribute to standard of living, but economic growth does not really contribute to standard of living. GDP per capita contributes to it. So you say this, you counter it with GDP per capita to increase the point. Talk about GDP per capita. You didn't talk about it. You didn't talk about government revenue. What happens with economic growth with government revenue? It's macroeconomic, right? They said macro, yes or no? So there are a lot of macroeconomic objectives there. So even if you are mentioning low inflation rate, mentioning that, okay, economic growth is already mentioned. So you're going to mention inflation rate. There are other macroeconomic objectives that you could mention. Employment, do you even talk about employment at all? Did you? No. So that ends October 2022 paper 2. And let's see how many points was lost.